median household income, that means everybody in the family, right? It used to mean one paycheck, one wage earner. Now it may mean 2, 3, who knows how many. The median household income went from $52,000 a year approximately to $50,000 between 07 and 08. We're just now getting the figures for 08. So a $2,000 fall in the median household income, and this actually says a lot. There's a lot of results of layoffs in the auto industry in 06 and 07 and into 08, which are included in these figures, right? The Delphi bankruptcy, various kinds of shrinkages, which you could see were already undermining the housing market in the American Midwest. So that is an honest-to-God depression, again, with a 40% fall in world trade. I think the figure in the 1930s was a 60% contraction of world trade. But we're still falling, so don't worry about that part. Therefore, we can say it is a world economic depression of formidable proportions already and getting worse the entire time. Now, in the middle of this, we've also got the emerging dollar crisis. We've talked about the danger of inflation, hyperinflationary depression, hyperstagflation, the worst of both hyperinflation and deflation, in the same way that Carter managed to combine inflation and unemployment in stagflation. I think Obama will force us to coin new terms with his trilateral puppet regime. We've got the dollar reaching a low for 2009. That was on, I think, the 8th of September compared to the euro. It's essentially the euro has reached $1.45 to buy a euro. The yen hovering about 92 to 93 yen per dollar. Remember, the lower that yen figure goes, the stronger the yen gets and the weaker the dollar. And the higher the 145. I think the all-time high for the euro is about 147, so we're brushing up against the all-time high. So the dollar is very, very weak. It is, maybe it's a safe haven, but it's the weakest of all the safe havens that anyone can look at. Far better is gold. Gold is now over $1,000 an ounce, which also is a massive vote of no confidence in the Obama regime, the Bernanke Federal Reserve, and so on. So in the middle of all this, we're going to get the Pittsburgh meeting of the G20. And again, protest is really not going to do it. You've got to have concrete measures. If you want to bump out these finance oligarchs and kick them out of power, you got to be ready to take power yourself, which means you have to know what to do. And that doesn't mean protesting. That means governing. That's kind of what you see with Obama. Good at protesting, but abysmal when it comes to governing. So this is the economic situation, and this is now feeding into the collapse of Obama. Let's take a look at this. It is, of course, the anniversary of the 9/11 events. It's the 8th anniversary today, and as we're recording this, therefore, let's just take a look at what's been going on in this area. Very interesting, these statements by Charlie Sheen. You remember that Charlie Sheen contributed to the high point historically of the 9/11 Truth Movement, which was the Alex Jones Conference in Los Angeles in June of 2006, where Charlie Sheen came forward, addressed the crowd, got a tremendous amount of media attention, and where we then had a panel which was then presented on C-SPAN in August, I think 6-7 times, reputedly the most popular program in C-SPAN history, the most downloaded, the most commented upon, the one that got the most attention in the entire 20, 30-year history of C-SPAN. Charlie Sheen has now made 2 interventions. One is an interesting hypothetical scenario conversation Charlie Sheen is received at the White House by Obama. What does Charlie Sheen tell Obama? He points out 2 dozen or so holes in the official story, and he urges Obama to do something about this, to reopen the investigation, which of course is fine. Then you've also got Charlie Sheen putting that together with the help of Aaron Dykes over at InfoWars with a short video which sums up these same points. Now, that was enough to get Hannity going berserk on his television program last night. So a lot of media attention around the 9/11 Truth Movement just at the time of the 8th anniversary. Now, let's see what the possible optimistic organizing perspective might well be. At the end of August and the beginning of September, we had Cindy Sheehan coming forward and protesting against Obama's warmonger policies at Martha's Vineyard with a very robust media response to that, also worldwide through Russia Today, 2 appearances there and elsewhere. Washington Examiner, read by the entire federal bureaucracy here in the Washington subway, also talking about Cindy Sheehan. What could come out of this now in the coming weeks and months? We'll be back in a minute. Welcome back to the second hour of World Crisis Radio. This is Webster Tarpley here in Washington, D.C. Now, it is the 9/11 anniversary, and we got an object lesson today that the heart of the matter regarding 9/11 is when the drills go live. There are these drills. They go on all the time. They're constantly drilling all kinds of terrorist attacks, terrorist events, military defense, air defense against terrorist attacks, and so forth. What we had down on the Potomac River by the Pentagon this morning was what looks like a stunt from our dear friends in the Rogue Network, reminding us that they're still there. Nobody has laid a glove on them. The September criminals are still in power, and that network, which was probably founded in its current form back under Grover Cleveland in 1895 when the U.S. government capitulated to J.P. Morgan and London in the midst of a dollar crisis, and that rogue network has been with us ever since, and it stretches across all the false flags of the 20th century and 9/11 up to the present day. The rogue network, I would think, possibly inside the FBI more than elsewhere, decided to have a stunt, and it was that Obama was scheduled to go to the Pentagon for a commemorative ceremony with Admiral Mullen, the head of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, and all that, and at the same time the Coast Guard was doing what they do 4 or 5 days a week here. You see them on the Potomac quite a lot when you cross the Key Bridge or various other bridges. They were training. They were pretending to capture boats, people resisting, and they were simulating firing some shots. No shots were fired, but they talked about the shooting over the radio, bang, 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 and so forth. And this was picked up by CNN. Now, I don't know if CNN sits around the whole time listening to the Coast Guard radio. The FBI might. So I would think there's probably a missing link here between the Coast Guard radio transmissions and CNN getting their mitts on these things and hearing them. I would suspect the FBI, which then turned out to be the lead agency coming in with various kinds of assets into the area. So the long and the short of it is that CNN hears 10 shots have been fired on the Potomac near the Pentagon, and they go live with that, right? They put it right on the air, and a worldwide hysteria develops for a period of, I guess, the best part of an hour until around noon. We finally have the Vice Commandant of the Coast Guard, Vice Admiral John Currier, Coast Guard Deputy Chief of Staff, appears at Coast Guard headquarters saying this was a training exercise. This is what we do all day long, 4 or 5 days a week, low profile. There's no notification because this is just what they do the whole time, and indeed you see them there the whole time. However, this did lead to a 22-minute ground stop of takeoffs from Reagan National Airport, which is just a little bit further down the river, and then a big mobilization by the FBI. Now, it just reminds those of us who know what happened, how it happened, and that is to say 9/11 is a matter of drills going live. Now, here you have a drill which is basically used as a propaganda tool by FBI, CNN, whoever did it, to increase hysteria. But remember that the essence of 9/11, and we'll just mention a few of these if we have time, is a matter of 25-plus drills. 25 drills, either scheduled and ongoing on the morning of 9/11 or recently completed in the last 3 to 4 months, or in advanced stages of preparation for the next maybe 10 to 12 months. That's what 9/11 is. It is those drills being flipped live, being taken live, going live, and reaching the maximum of realism, which they always strive for. It goes from being a very realistic drill to being the real thing where people actually die. And, of course, some of the patsies that are involved are actors who think that they're going to be playing their role as essentially walk-on parts, actors in a drill, and then they're going to go home that night because that's what they've done before, except this time the drill went live and they were at the wrong place at the wrong time. So that is the 9/11 hype of this morning. The other thing is you got to compare this to this low-flying Air Force One over the Hudson River a couple of months ago. There have now been a couple of events that tend